Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Wendy, do you want to go next?
Sure, yeah. My name's Wendy. Pronouns are she, her, and I have this little bobcat. He's actually the mascot of the elementary school I went to, but I thought he was good because he's blue, which is a little bright and colorful, and I just like, fun, exciting things. So that's what I got.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Super cute. And Paige, do you want to go?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Paige. My preferred pronouns are she, her. And I grabbed my running shoe because that's something that I do almost every day. So yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing. And then I'm going to go with Monica.
Hi everyone, I'm Monica. My preferred pronouns are she, her, and this name tag just sits on my desk and it says dog mom, and so I feel like this really explains who I am as a person. I'm very much a dog mom. So.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. And I think Martine, if you'd like to share, if you can.
Is my audio working?
Yes.
Okay, good. I haven't used my desktop in a while. So, my name's Martine, he, him. I think I changed that so you can see there. And I found a soccer ball. I'm in my garage. It's my temporary office since ours is closed. And I didn't want to work in my room because that was a lot of time I was spending in there. But yeah, I chose a soccer ball because it is the center of my life. I've played it since I was a kid. My dad taught me how to play. Me and my brother play on the same teams. Like yourself, Desiree, I'm a big family person, so I would play with my brother and my family would come watch. And now I have a nephew, so I go watch him, and we also go kick the ball around. So soccer brings my family together, keeps me in somewhat good shape, and it is, also good mental health. So I can just go out and kick the soccer ball around. So
great. Thank you for sharing, Martine.
No problem.
All right, and then Annabelle, if you want to share. I know you said you weren't home, so if you just want to introduce yourself and say your gender pronouns, that's fine as well.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Annabelle. I identify as she, her. And I'm sorry that I'm late.
Oh, no worries. We're just getting started, so perfect timing.
Okay, thank you.
All right, everyone. I'm going to try to share my screen again and was having trouble. Seeing you. Now it's giving me a bunch of different options, so please forgive me while I read through. One person who can share. I don't know why it's okay. Let's see if this works. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
you can.
Okay, let me get this into maybe. For some reason, I can't see anybody. I can just see my slideshow. Monica, can you help me? Because earlier when we went through this, I could see you all, but now I'm having trouble seeing anybody. Our page, maybe.
I'm not sure. Is there view options at the top where you can potentially?
Yeah, I really never had this before. It's just, okay. Well, I'm not sure what happened, so I'm going to just continue. And every now and then I'll just unshare my screen so I can see you guys because I can't see you, which is probably fine because I'm super nervous anyway. So it might help me get through this. So let me get to the screen. And if Monica and Paige, if you guys can help me out, because literally I cannot see anybody. I can just see my slide. Great. I'm assuming that's it. Yes. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, Desiree, and if you want,
Yes.
if you need to stop and have me share my screen instead, just let me know.
Let's try that. Let me stop sharing. Okay. Let's do this because then I can see people on the side. For some reason, I could not see anybody. And I think we had a couple people join. Let me go through this. Hi, Julie. If you want to do a quick introduction, what we did, we said our name and our gender pronouns, and then we grabbed just an item that was close by that best described us or you. So if you want to say a quick hello.
Hello, my name is Julie. My husband is approaching here. He's Bob. She and he. An item that describes me. Boy, that'd be hard for me here. I don't know.
Okay. I didn't. Yeah. If you want to share, if you think of an item, just go ahead and let me know.
Okay.
If not, your
Okay.
name and your gender pronouns are perfectly fine. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry we're a little late.
No worries.
Kind of flying in here. So.
Yeah, no worries. All right, if Monica, if you can click to the next slide. Thank you everyone for being so patient. Next slide. All right. So I'm just going to take a moment. I know some of us have just gotten off work, rushed home, so I appreciate you all being here. Some of you guys may be needing to eat dinner. Please do that if needed. But I definitely wanted just to take a moment to have like a mindfulness moment to get us centered and grounded for our training. So if you can go ahead and grab a piece of paper, scratch piece of paper, and a pen for this activity. And what we're going to do is you're going to write down, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to write down everything that is in your mind right now. If it's work related, family related, deadline that needs to meet, maybe weekend plans, but go ahead and take this time, take 2 minutes to write down everything that is in your mind. This is all important stuff, but I'm hoping that by writing this down, we're going to go ahead and parking lot those things for after our training so that we can all be here together and learn from one another. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to do that. Monica, I think you are going to play some music for us. Do you have the music, Monica? Thank you. We have about 30 seconds to finish up your last thoughts. Thank you, Monica. Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for doing that. And I'm hoping that by doing that, you guys will go ahead and just put those things aside for these short 2 hours that we're together. Again, I appreciate you all being here. I know that we all have busy schedules, work, family, but I definitely want this time to be a time where we're here together, we're engaged, and just taking in as much as we can with this training. So what I'm going to have you do next is you're going to grab your paper and you're just going to fold that in half. Do it a couple times, and then what I'm going to have you do is just set that aside for after our training, and it'll be a little reminder for later of what's going on in your head right now, what deadlines you need to meet, projects that are due. And then the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to have you close your eyes, and we're going to take 3 big breaths. And so we're going to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, and breathe out. And one more time, breathe in, and breathe out. I think that may have been 4 times, maybe. I'm sorry, I lost count. But hopefully that grounds you a little bit, gets you relaxed and ready for our training. Thank you for doing that with me. Okay, if you can click to the next slide, Monica. And so before we get started, I want to start off our training by doing a land acknowledgement. This is a new practice that we are incorporating to our program, so you'll see it at council meetings, match activities, and trainings. This is just an acknowledgement of the land that we're currently occupying, which I'm currently occupying Clackamas. And so if you would like to add to the chat box the land that you are currently occupying, there's a number on the slide. You can text your zip code to that number, and it will then populate the land that you are using. If you already know, go ahead and put it in the chat box. And then while I'm reading our statement, you guys can enter, you can send a text and enter it to the chat box. Okay. So, in the spirit, we acknowledge that the Portland metro area rests on traditional village sites of the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Cathlamet, Clackamas, bands of Chinook, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Malala, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River. We take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land. Okay. Thank you. And I have people putting in the chat box. We have Kalapuya, Clackamas, and Cowlitz. Else. Great. Oh, and then Monica, if you want to go back to the thank you. If you want to know more about why we do land acknowledgements, this is the link that you can visit, and it'll share more about practices and a little bit more information about the land acknowledgements. Oh, Annabelle says no info on her zip code. That's strange. I've never heard that.
Yeah, this is the second time I try it and it texts me back the same thing.
If you'd like, if you can put your chat box in the zip code, I'd be interested in just like trying to figure out why that would be. Cool. All right, so moving on, our Zoom reminders. This session is currently being recorded. It's just for our knowledge to go back to kind of take notes. It's not going anywhere, it's just going to stay with us. We ask that you mute your microphone when not speaking, and then just get familiar with your chat box because we will be using that throughout the training, and then the viewing options, which I had trouble earlier. But there's, you can see it in a gallery view, or if you would prefer just seeing when people are speaking, you can see like the speaker view as well. We ask that you keep your video on if possible. We understand some people are working, but if you can, we'd love to see your faces and see so that we can just be engaged together if you can have your video on. And then for any reason, if you need to step away, tend to family, pets, we just ask that you turn off your camera so it's not a distraction. And then our group agreements. Our group agreements are: speak your truth, listen to understand, be ever mindful of your impact versus your intentions, be open to learning and exploring new things, be willing to practice and make mistakes along the way, confidentiality, what's said here stays here, and what's learned leaves with you. A new one that we just added is step up and step back, meaning we ask that people who normally don't speak out, a little bit more shy and uncomfortable to speak out, we ask you to challenge yourself today by either using your voice to share your ideas, giving feedback, or you can also use the chat box if you're more comfortable doing that. But we definitely want to hear from you, hear your thoughts. They're very important to us. And then people who have no issues with speaking out and are normally like the first people to share out, we ask that you just kind of observe the audience and that you give a chance for everyone to have a time to share out. Okay. And then this is just a time I'm going to open up. If there's any other group agreements that you guys would like to add, you can go ahead and put that in the chat box. Or you can just share out and mute your microphone. If there's something else that you would like to see in our group agreements. I'm just going to click through. I don't hear anybody, so I'm just going to ask everybody to either give me a thumbs up and let me know that that's okay. Thumbs up, I'm seeing lots of thumbs ups. Perfect, great. So we can move on to our next slide then. All right, and so our agenda for tonight, we've done our icebreaker. We're gonna talk about the importance of youth voice, your role in youth voice using the framework of 5 C's. We're gonna have a quick break, and then after a break, we'll dive into goal setting and putting youth voice and goal setting into action within your match. And then we'll have some time for questions and feedback at the end at our closing. And then I also just want to go back real quick with our Zoom reminders. If there's any access needs that need to be met, if I'm speaking too fast or you need to step away because you need to stand up or something, I just want to go ahead and you can put that in the chat box just to let me know. I currently have my dogs here and nobody is home with me, so I may have to step away to get them out if they start barking. But that's my access need right now. I don't know if anybody else has any. If you need me to speak up louder, I tend to sometimes, if I get nervous, to talk lower, or if I'm talking too fast, please let me know just to slow down a little bit. Great, thank you, Monica. And so our core values within our program, the 5 things that we incorporate into our program with everything that we do is, number 1, relationships. Building relationships, having trustworthy, impactful relationships with our mentors and our mentees. Youth voice, racial equity, positive youth identity, and leadership are all of our core values within our program. Right, and so our training objectives and our takeaways from tonight are the importance of youth voice. I'm hoping that you guys have a better understanding of how you can empower youth, your mentee, to have a voice, share those leadership skills, and how you can show up within your match. We're going to go over the 5 C's framework. We're going to talk a little bit about goal setting and how goal setting looks in your match, and then putting youth voice and goal setting into action. All right, so our first activity is I want you to go ahead and think about a time that maybe you felt unheard, or that your thoughts didn't matter. How did that make you feel? So if you can just take a minute to reflect, either in your earlier years as a youth, or maybe in your adult life, where you felt like you just weren't heard, that you didn't feel like you had a say in your life or any ideas. So if you want to take a minute, and then once you think about that, go ahead and put that in the chat box. And so we have people saying it makes you feel small, insignificant, unappreciated, not smart enough, that your opinion didn't matter, that you felt undermined, not having anyone to talk to, sad, invisible, feeling alone, frustrated. Robert says, yesterday's procedures I put in place at work were followed and were called not substantive. I felt bossy because I have some power, but probably defensive. See if I missed any other ones. Not important, yes. Alone again, yes. So these are all definitely ways that feeling unheard probably makes you feel sad. I definitely don't want any of our youth to feel like that in our program. It doesn't feel good. It's just not a great feeling to feel so excited about something, and then somebody just kind of downplays your thoughts and your feelings. So it definitely can relate to those feelings. And so now what I want you to do is think about a time where it shifted, where you had somebody that made you feel like you had power, you had a voice in your ideas. Think it could be about a person who had made you feel that way, or it could be just maybe a couple events where you felt like you actually had a say in a decision, or where you felt like you were heard. So what we're going to do is take a few minutes to think about that. And then what I'm going to have you do is write either a letter to, somebody's coming in. You're going to write a letter to a person who has impacted your life in a positive way, who's given you a voice, who has allowed you to explore interest and be a part of decision making. You can write a letter to that person, or if you just have a few ideas or times where you felt empowered, you can just write a few lines. So what I'm going to do is give you about 3 minutes to do that. So you can grab your paper that you used for the mindfulness activity and use the back of that, or you can grab a new piece of paper. And I'm going to ask Monica if you can play that music again. And then we'll come back after and we'll share out those positive impacts.
Monica, can you go back to the prompts?
Thank you, Monica. Right. And if you feel like you need to turn off your video in this time that you're writing, go ahead and do so during this time. We have about 30 seconds. Finish up your writing. All right. If you are not quite done, that's fine. I will go first to read mine, and then I'll ask for a couple of volunteers to read out. If I don't get any, I'll just start calling on people. So I'll start to read mine. And I'm hoping while we're reading our letters, or just the few examples of how we felt empowered and had a voice, that you think about, we all have been impacted differently by different mentors and different experiences, and there's always something different. Each of us have different backgrounds and different strengths that support youth in different ways. So just go ahead and just take that in, and kind of, if you are currently matched with somebody, kind of to see different interests or different things of how other people have supported you. I want this just to be a learning opportunity for us all, where we just kind of learn different ways of how we can support our youth in the program. So I will begin mine. I started out, I did a letter. I have a very important mentor who's impacted my life extremely. So I'm writing a letter to her. She still a mentor in my life. It was freshman year of high school and has just mentored me throughout my high school years and into my adult life, as well as my kid's life. So this letter is for her. It says, Dear Marilyn, you entered my life in a time where I needed you most. I was hurt, I was lost, and felt alone. You showed love and taught me to take chances on building relationships with new people and experiencing new things. By doing this, I was given opportunities to experience life in a way that I never have or ever thought I could. For this, I love you and I appreciate you. Love, Desiree. That is just a quick letter that I wrote. I'm going to ask someone else to volunteer. Destiny, thank you.
Mine's pretty similar. I had a couple who I've talked about before, a husband and a wife that I met whenever I was homeless, and as a child, we would just walk the streets looking for food and whatever we could do to survive. So this couple has been a part of my life since I was probably between 6 and 7. But I said, Rick and Linda, thank you so much for loving me when I was so unloved as a child. You supplied me with food, warmth, clothing, and all my basic needs, but you mostly always let me know how much I was loved by you and how special I am. You pushed me to be the girl I am today. In fact, you still do that for me. I thank you both so much for everything. I love you and I want to be just like you when I grow up. Your sweet girl, Destiny.
Thank you for sharing, Destiny. Another volunteer? All right, so I'm going to pass the mic to Paige.
Awesome. So I didn't write a letter, but similarly, these notes are about a family friend of mine who helped me out in many ways. And in particular, I remember I was probably like either 8th grade or high school when I was first deciding to join a like competitive soccer team. And I wasn't sure exactly just about like if that was the right decision. And I remember she helped me write out like a list of like pros and cons of like why I would want to join the soccer team and the reasons maybe why I wouldn't. And I just really appreciated her guiding through me making that decision, because it would have been a big commitment for me at the time that I had never like committed to anything like that before. And so I was just really grateful that she allowed me to like think for myself and then come to the conclusion with her support without like trying to influence it.
Awesome, thank you for sharing, Paige. I'm going to pass it to Becky. Becky, thank you for joining us.
There we go. Oh, thank you for calling on me. Sorry I'm late, everyone. I did just something real short. This was to my chemistry teacher in high school. I said, Dear Dr. Fruin, thank you so much for believing in me and trying to understand the curveball life threw at me. Your compassion and patience in working with me were noticed and remembered all these years later. You gave me the voice and compassion to work with kids and really hear of some of their difficulties in school and other areas of their lives. And for that, I thank you.
Awesome, thank you so much for sharing.
You bet.
The next one, Carrie, would you like to share?
Yeah. So I did one more like recent. So I picked my manager at work. And I said, "Dear Tammy, thank you for mentoring me at work. You encouraged me to take on more responsibility and gave me confidence and supported me while I learned new things to be a strong charge nurse and have helped me develop into a respected leader on our unit. Thank you, Carrie."
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Carrie.
You're welcome.
I'm Wendy.
Sure, yeah, and I didn't do the letter. I did option 2, talking about a moment when you feel empowered. But I think it is related about when I was in middle school. We had a friend in our after school group who was very sick, and so she really wanted a Wii, and we kept talking about it. And one of the adults in the group kind of encouraged us to.
Wendy,
Yeah.
I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
If I lean in, is it better? I don't know what else I can do.
1 second.
Could other people hear me okay?
I can. It's just a little quiet, but
Okay, I'll just try to talk louder. Is that
Oh,
better?
yes, thank you.
Okay, I'll just talk louder. So she was very sick, and we organized and collected, $5, $10 from a bunch of people and bought her a Wii. And she ended up missing half the school year, but this adult that encouraged us to do so really set us on the path. I don't think we would have done that otherwise. So it still makes me feel really good that we did that. And so I just feel grateful to her still.
Awesome, that's very sweet. Thank you for sharing, Wendy. Yesenia.
Can y'all hear me? Okay. Okay. This letter, I'm just gonna share a snippet of it. I wrote for my, she was like a program director for our organization called Mecha at the high school that I went to. And there's a little bit that I wrote. I said, "Thank you so much for never giving up on me, nor ever giving up on any of the other Mecha students. You always encourage all of us to strive for more and that we should never settle for something we don't want. Thank you so much. I hope you're still the encouraging voice for new students like you were for me." And yeah, so this was just like, I never got to thank her in person. And this is just like, maybe I will send it to her.
I bet she'll like that. Thank you for sharing, Yesenia. And then Julie and Bob, if you guys would like to share. You're muted.
Okay. It's funny you'd ask me to do this because about 20 years ago, I wrote a similar letter. Of course, I didn't have enough time to put into that letter that I put into this one, or put into this one that I did in that one. But it's to my brother who kind of gave me skills and taught me everything that I find that has paid off later in my life quite greatly. So I wrote him thanking him for being there for me and teaching me how to work, the skills that he gave me, being there to confide in, teaching me how to socialize with other people, just all the things that a father would normally do, but he had to pick up the job. So the letter was pretty long, but essentially I owe quite a bit to him, and I wrote him a letter thanking him. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Bob. Julie, do you have a letter or a moment that you want to share?
I don't have much, and this may not be what you're looking for, but I just would be my mom who made me feel that I always mattered. Hard for me.
You didn't do it.
Sorry. She was
No,
always kind and she always made me feel loved.
Thank you, Julie, for sharing. And yeah, that's perfect. Moms can definitely empower their kids and make them feel loved. They're definitely teachers and mentors. They're probably the first, if that. So it's definitely the right thing. Allison and Nathan, would you like to go?
Yeah, Julie, I also wrote to my mom. So I want to thank my mom for always believing in me, for trusting me to make hard decisions, for allowing me space to fail and always encouraging me along the way. You always see the best in me, even when I am clearly showing my flaws. Recently, I want to thank you for really modeling how to cope with difficult experiences. How to tend to your own emotional needs before other people's, and setting boundaries at work so that you can prioritize your own joy and peace.
Thank you for sharing, Allison.
And I did the second option where I didn't write a letter. I just sort of described a time. And it is just, so I'm a middle school teacher. And when I first became a teacher 10 years ago, it's been a while now, the people in my school, my principal specifically, really trusted me to allowed me to follow these sort of crazy threads and allowed me to fail and try things out. And I always just really appreciated that about, the first place I worked, that he trusted me enough to let me figure things out on my own. I thought that was cool.
Thank you for sharing. Robert, would you like to share?
Yeah, I picked my piano teacher. I started taking lessons when I was 6, and he was with me, or I was with him for a very long time. And it was not a difficult time. My parents had just divorced, but it was kind of amicable. And I'm occasionally surprised at how positive an influence he was, at least starting out when I wasn't having a difficult time. Mr. Raymond, you taught me piano. You taught me a lot of piano. You taught me about music, and you taught me about how to learn music. You taught me how to learn other things and how to teach. You taught me how to be resilient, and you taught me how to see the wonder. Ooh, misspelling, sorry. I'm saying sorry to me, not to you. You taught me to see the wonder in the world around me and how to accept how to expect the best from people and situations. And I miss playing forehands with you.
Thank you for sharing, Robert. I think I'm going to have, Martine next, and then Annabelle. I don't know if you're talking, Martine, you are muted.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? No?
Yes. Oh, it's very
Sorry.
quiet, but I can hear you.
I think I'm having connectivity issues. I lost the screen.
If you want,
Back to me.
I sometimes find just like logging out and logging back in sometimes corrects the issue. If you need a second, we can try it, or if you need a second, I can move on to the next person and then come back.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to have Annabelle go just to give Martine a second.
Okay, so I wrote a letter to my second grade teacher. Her name I knew her as Miss LeClaire. And it goes something like this. It says, thank you for inviting me to your lovely home to bake cookies with you. Being there and listening to me and making me laugh along with my friends made me feel important and loved. You checking in on me frequently made me feel like trying more at school so I wouldn't disappoint you. When I was a kid, I was never taken seriously, but you made me feel like I mattered. I never got to thank you, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. You made a difference in my life.
Thank you, Annabelle. And then Nicole, if you would like to share.
So my dog might whine in the background, but just ignore it. So I wrote a little bit, or I talked about my friend Steph. She's a few years older than me, so I looked up to her a lot. So I'm gonna share a little bit. It's thank you for always allowing me a space to speak and a space to vent. You're always listening to me with your full attention. You ask clarifying questions in the right spots, and I'm always feeling supported by you. Thank you for making me feel important. Thank you for making me feel like I matter. Thank you for making me feel like I am valued.
Thank you for sharing, Nicole. Martine, I don't know if you're ready. We can try.
Yes, so I am back, but I'll be honest, I don't remember the questions and I didn't write it down. But I know that I was thinking along the lines of my brother, and he's always been there for me. So I appreciate his advice, and also we're more of a action speaks louder than words. So I'm not very good at writing or reading, but we communicate that through the way we act to each other and always helping each other out. And he's definitely, he's been an older brother, so he leads by example. I was just thinking, say thank you, and that was the letter.
Thank you, Martine. Did I make sure that I have everybody? Carrie, did I call on you? I did, yes. Okay. Did I miss anybody? I just want to thank you all for doing that. Destiny, it's okay to be the person to cry. I'm always that person to cry. Crying is perfectly fine. I really loved just hearing all of your stories. If you guys, I was taking notes over here, but people who have impacted our life come in all different shapes, sizes, different strengths. That we have friends, there's teachers, neighbors, brothers, just your siblings, parents. We've all been impacted differently by different people and in different ways. I do want to know, Annabelle, because I think it really stood out to me that you acknowledge your second grade teacher. I think sometimes we forget, like for the littles, how somebody who's impacted our life at a very young age, how that affects us as adults. I think sometimes we forget about that. And that really stands out to me because I've always worked with younger kids, and I think it's like very important that we impact their lives young, and that we know that it does make a difference as we get older, that you do remember those people who are part of our life at young ages. So I just want to check in real quick. I know that it's hard sometimes thinking about our past, and sometimes it brings up like different challenges that we've overcome. Sometimes to get to a positive point, you have to go through some trials, some struggles. So I just want to take a few moments, if you guys need to, just to check in to see how that made you feel. If you feel like you need a break, go ahead and turn off your screen. Just kind of center yourself if you need to. But at this point, I wanted to just take a moment and check in with you guys and see how you guys felt about that activity. And Becky, if you'd like to share out, you can just unmute your mic if you need to, or you can put it in the chat box.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I thought that was a really moving exercise, and it was really nice to see people get honest and talk about this and get emotional, because it's tough, you know, putting something out there that is so meaningful to all of us. And I was just going to say, I have two sons, and when they were both in high school, I asked them, it was during Christmas one year, I said, think back through your school career and think of a teacher that made a difference, somebody who really propelled you into the future, and write them a letter. I said, I want you to tell them what a difference they made in your life. And they both did that. And going through this exercise, I think it's really, really important that we look at all the areas of our lives, and whether it's a coworker, whether it's a boss, whether it's a spouse, a neighbor, whoever, people are touching our lives all the time. And I think recognizing that is huge, huge. And other people in return will recognize what you or what we have all offered to them. And I'm curious, with respect to our mentees, whether maybe we could talk to them about people who impacted their lives. You know, maybe again, it's a second grade teacher, maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's a cousin. But I think these are conversations I'm hoping that we can all have. That's all.
Desiree, you're muted.
Thank you. Anyone else have any thoughts about this activity or any share out? Becky, I'm writing notes. I think that's an amazing question to ask our mentees. Thinking about like how I can incorporate that to like a match activity or something as like a check-in, because obviously like we all are here and we hope that we are impacting their life in some way, but it would be nice to kind of see who else is in their circle and who else is amplifying their voice and giving them those tools and skills to just be a better version of themselves. So I really like that.
I'm also a really firm advocate of educators. And I know that a lot of teachers don't get credit for all the work, for all the time, everything, the love they invest in kids. And I think it is so, so important to recognize them for that.
Absolutely. All right. Anybody else? Any thoughts? I just want to hear what other people, it's a little quiet and I don't really like the quiet. So I'm just going to call out on two other people just to call three. So thank you, Becky, for sharing. I'm going to ask Martine to share out, and then I'm going to also ask Allison to share out. Just thoughts about how it made you feel, what you took from this exercise.
I mean, like I said, I'm not much of a writer, so it was not in my comfortable environment. So, like I was saying before, I like to express my, I guess, caring for other people with the actions I do, and that's why I'm participating in Family of Friends. I don't really vocalize that. I just do things that show that I want to help others, the community, my family. So to me, writing is not something that makes me feel comfortable, or talking about feelings and emotions is not my strong area. So
I love that you're and appreciate you stepping out of your comfort zone, even though if you're not writing, just speaking out is great, and I appreciate that. So thank you. And Allison.
Sure, yeah. I love this exercise. This is one of my favorite Family of Friends prompts, because I always leave sort of similar to Becky, like thinking about all of the community and all of the people who have shown up for me, and also like hearing how other people have experienced that, and thinking about like the little things that that we do for each other, for people that we love. I don't know, it feels like what I want community to be and how I want to be in relationship with people. And so it's always very inspiring and honestly very hopeful that we have these pieces and we can like continue to show up for people in these ways. Like this is the road, this is like the guidance. When I hear people share what they've heard or like how like a teacher encouraged them to be there for their friend, like that's what we're doing. That's the way through life. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, and just to add, yeah, I think that it's just really important how we've all been impacted differently. Sometimes we all have different needs. Our mentees, youth have different needs, and they're all in different stages of life. And there's not just a one-way path of how we can show up for our kids. So every match and every way that you are supporting youth is going to look different. There's never going to be the exact same way that we're going to support a youth. So thank you for doing this activity. We're going to get back to our PowerPoint, Monica. And so our next activity is I kind of just want to get a feel for what we talked a little bit about how we've been impacted and about having an adult show us that we're important. So I want you to put in the chat box. We use this phrase "youth voice" a lot. It's a thing right now that people are like, we have to empower our youth. But I want to see what your thoughts are on what youth voice is. So if you can just put in the chat box what you think or what you're familiar with youth voice. And it can be a sentence, it could just be words. So Becky says confidence. Robert including them in plans. Empowering youth to make decisions. Destiny of the future, precious, important, valuable. Really listening to youth, not just doing what you think they would like. Paige says giving opportunities to make choices that are important to them. Ideas, opinion, value, knowledge of young people. Yesenia says youth getting choices throughout their life where not everyday decisions are already made for them. Bob says expressing how they feel. Annabelle mentoring. Yes, so this is like making me happy right now to see all of this because this is definitely, I feel like you guys get the point of youth voice. It's a lot. It's not just one thing. It's not just saying yes, shouting out, parading through the street saying, I believe in youth have voice. It's really making an impact and showing up for them and giving them opportunities to have leadership and make decisions in their voice and just show up and show that you care about them. Listening to youth, making sure that they matter, mentoring, yes. So moving on to our next slide, there's lots of definitions on youth voice and what it looks like. Again, it goes back to like there's not a one way of how we can show up for our kids. There's not one definition for youth voice. There's a lot that is involved with providing the support for them. But this is the best definition that I found that fits for our program. And that is youth voice is a practice of centering young people's identities, interests, needs, and perspectives in decisions that affect their learning and their lives. So pretty much everything that you guys put in the chat box is summed up in this definition, I believe. And then what that looks like when we have youth that feel like they are important, that they feel that they have a say, we tend to find youth, they feel confident and empowered in making decisions. They're speaking up when there's a thought or an idea. They're taking chances, stepping out of their comfort zone. They're building positive relationships, and that could be with family, with friends, with teachers, just people in the community. So you're seeing a lot of people youth feeling comfortable making those relationships. Skills and tools are developed within this process. And at the end, with all of that, with all of the support that youth have, we then see youth become our future leaders. They're feeling confident, they're accomplishing their dreams, their goals, and so those are going to be the leaders of the future. And so how can we as a program and mentors show up? There's a framework called the 5 C's that we're using today to talk about what we can do to support youth voice. And the 5 C's are competence, providing opportunities to explore new interests in their community, character, we're asking and listening to their ideas, but really listening to them. There's times where, just as a parent, there have been times that I say I'm guilty of, my kid comes up, gives me an idea, and I'm hearing him, but I'm not really listening to him. So definitely, we want to make sure that we're actually listening to them. And sometimes times get busy, and it's okay to be like, okay, I need a break to process, but definitely showing up and listening to what they want, what they need, giving them a chance for decision making, and really, if they're sharing their decisions, that we're putting it into action. We're not just going to say, yes, that's a good idea, but then we forget about it. So really putting it to use, and then sharing your interest and your values so that they just have different opportunities to learn from you, from peers and community members. Compassion, listening to thoughts and ideas and dreams of theirs, showing up when we say we are. And right now, we are in a pandemic. We're showing up either, with the text, if we're sending a letter, if we're still meeting up, and then modeling honesty and respect. And respect does come different ways. So really learning of how they feel respected, and also showing what respect means to you so that you guys have an idea and you guys are incorporating both ways of how you're feeling of what respect is. Connection, exploring new places and opportunities to see successful and positive people who reflect them. We have a lot of kids from different parts or different backgrounds, so it's really important that they see people who look like them, who are positive and successful, doing good for their community. So when we have those opportunities, if we can do that. And confidence, exploring new interests, visiting new places, and trying new activities. Just pushing them to get out of their comfort zone will help build those tools and skills of confidence. And so before we move on to our next activity, I just want to see if anybody has any questions about each one of those areas. And then if you want to screenshot this slide, we'll be using this for our next activity. And again, just a little bit of the 5 C's. It's a framework that is focused on positive youth development. So there's a lot of ways that community members, adults are supporting youth. And this one is a focus with youth voice. So this is why I chose this one for our training today. Any questions? I can't see. Let me go through my slide. It doesn't look like I have anyone's questions. Did everybody get a picture of this? You just kind of give me a thumbs up. That great. So now that we briefly went through the 5 C's, we're going to do an exercise. You guys are going to be the experts now. I'm going to give you each a scenario that you will work through as a group, and then you are going to shift the scenario to either add youth voice and how you would support that scenario and provide youth voice, or if there's already a little bit of youth voice, how can you expand on that? Because there's always room for growth. So if we're working on something, you know, you're getting their ideas and providing them space to share their ideas. If that was a scenario, what could you do next? What would be the next step of providing support for them? So I think Monica shared a document in the chat box. So if you guys can all click on that so you can have it on your screen. And then we're gonna divide, let me see how many people we have. There's 12, 1, 2, 3, 6. Monica, are you gonna do breakout rooms or do you want me to do it? I'm gonna put you guys in a breakout room. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put you in a breakout room. You're gonna each have a scenario. Whatever breakout room is gonna be the scenario that you will discuss. I'll give you about 10 minutes to do that, and then we'll come back in a group. You'll have somebody who will be the speaker who will share out the scenario and then talk about what you guys discussed in your group. Any questions? Great. Right, so breakout rooms are made.
Doing right now.
Hello. Did you guys get through it okay? Great.
Yeah.
I'll read
The question
for you since you don't have it on your
awesome.
If that's okay.
That's perfect. She's gonna speak because Wendy's gonna step outside her little comfort box.
Okay. Good job, Wendy. Welcome back, everybody. Was that enough time? Do you guys have plenty of time? Great. We're just waiting for a couple more groups. Hello, hello, everyone. Great. Was that enough time? Bree? No, it wasn't enough time. Because like I had a lot more to say. Okay.
Were we supposed to do 2 scenarios or pick one?
It was for whatever group you were in. That would be your scenario. That it would be your scenario that you were to be working on.
Okay.
Is that what everybody did? Like if you were group 1, you would have done scenario 1. If you were group 2, you would have done scenario 2. Good?
Yep.
Great. Okay, perfect. So scenario 1, we're just gonna go in order. If you would like to share your scenario, just go ahead and read it out loud and then let us know what you guys came up with.
Sorry. I guess that'd be me. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Or our group, it was myself, Annabelle, and Becky. We were group 1. I was the only one that was able to download the paper, so I guess that's leaves me up to reading it. So scenario 1, Jill is matched with Becky, who is 10 years old. They have been matched for 6 months. Jill is very fit and healthy person who loves to eat healthy foods and works out and does CrossFit on her free time. Becky is a very outgoing kid who likes to try new things but doesn't not really care for exercising. Jill picks up Becky every Friday and they go to the neighborhood track where they run 2 to 3 miles and sometimes will do some CrossFit exercises. Becky loves to get away from home but doesn't really enjoy running. One day when Jill picked up Becky from her home, Becky suggested that they get ice cream since it was a nice day out. Jill quickly shot Becky down and said that she had planned to visit a new park that they can run at and then said ice cream must be earned. And then our question was, what do you think needs to be adjusted to support youth voice in this scenario? And I don't know if anyone else wants to speak on what we talked about.
I just want to say that I thought that's sweet that Becky was in scenario 1 with Becky being the mentee.
Well, I had to read it twice to see if somebody was talking about me. I did take my mentee running once, and she does love to get ice cream, but I never made her run 2 or 3 miles. My first reaction was somebody needs to pull Jill aside and remind her what it is to be a mentor. Just that's in defense of the mentee. I think maybe a little less. It needs to be more, I guess, kind of a cooperative effort, and not one person saying, I want to do this and we're going to do what I want. So making sure that the mentee is heard, and she or he can choose what they want to do. And maybe one week doing what the mentor wants, while the next week doing what the mentee wants, and challenging each other to kind of broaden their comfort zones.
Absolutely. Martine, Annabelle, do you guys have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just pointing out that it highlighted the importance of these trainings you offer to kind of police ourselves, because when we're out there, we may not know that we're doing something that doesn't seem correct to others. So in this situation, like you're saying, someone needs to pull her aside. So these training exercises are a good opportunity for someone to, you know, understand that they might take a different approach to listen to their mentee and have productive hangouts that are fun for everyone. Like we were saying, it was more of a compromise that probably should be taking place when you plan activities.
I'm just, Annabelle?
Yeah, and also remembering that just because we feel that something is the best for our mentee, that might not be the case. And if we're not listening to them, then we might get it wrong and we might do things in the wrong way. Like in this scenario where she is just like her way, I'm not gonna bend and try something new with you. And Becky is forgetting that there has to be some compromise. And obviously both people have to enjoy the process, not just one.
Absolutely, I agree. Was there anyone else from outside of the other groups who want to elaborate on what could be some other things that could have supported this scenario with supporting interest of Becky and her needs? So this scenario was something that that has happened, and so I just learned about it in one of our staff meetings. And so my first thought was like, when I heard this is something that you have to earn, I was like thrown off by it, because if Becky is not an active person and does not really care for exercise, why I don't think it's something that they're going to want to earn, you know, but yet he really wants some ice cream, so I don't think that it's fair. It was my first thought.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
What if the behavior, whatever they're trying to do, what if it really is unhealthy? And they're just like, that's what I want. Because, you know, there's some kids that are really demanding.
Can you ask the question again? If it's an activity that they want to do that's unhealthy?
Yes.
Like that the mentee wants to do?
Yes.
My first thought would be, I mean, right then in that moment, to say that you needed to, that's a good idea, but I'm gonna have to take some time to process that, maybe check in with the match support person and see if that's like an activity that we can do. You're always welcome to blame it on Monica or myself that, oh, I'm not sure if we can do that. Let me check in with them and see.
Thank you. That will make it easier.
Yes. All right. So I seen Monica's message in the chat box that time is running short. So we're going to speed through scenario 2. Want to make sure that we get through all of our scenarios. Scenario 2, who's next?
That would be me. I was in a group with Paige and Robert. Do you want me to read through the entire scenario because it's kind of long, or do you want me to like give a summary?
Summary is good.
Okay. So April is the mentor for Celeste. They've been matched for around a year. Celeste is around 13. She's really interested in social justice, and she has a passion for the Black Lives Matter movement. She started a new debate class, but has been having trouble with like speaking up and sharing her thoughts. So April thought it would be a good idea to sign Celeste up for a public speaking class. However, April automatically just signed Celeste up for it without speaking to her first. And Celeste didn't really seem very excited about it and didn't say much when April told her the news. So we discussed that April could have included Celeste in the decision-making process. So Celeste's boundary wouldn't be like crossed or anything like that. So they could be involved together in making that decision if it's something Celeste wanted, which includes one of the 5 C's of character. And then they could also be exploring possible Black Lives Matter movements together, like social groups that meet up each week, or like even groups online where Celeste can build her confidence in what she learns and also speaking to other people about the topic because it's something she's interested in. So if she finds other people that share her interest, it might be easier to speak up and build her confidence on public speaking. She could also look through documentaries or books together to help her build her knowledge and feel less timid in social spaces as well. And also April can share Celeste's excitement and support her by just simply asking, like, what can I do to support you moving forward, instead of just jumping in and thinking or doing what April thinks is best for Celeste.
Great. Love it. Definitely getting input from your mentee, not taking charge and being the person to make the decision for them, because how did April know that that's something that she wanted? So thank you, you guys. So we're going to move on to scenario 3. Again, we're going to rush through these. I want to be cautious of our time. And just before we continue, we initially had youth voice and goal setting in 2 separate trainings. And we were going to do a total of 3. I think like in our initial mentor training, we said we had 3 mandated trainings, which were youth voice, goal setting, and racial equity. We thought that it would be nice to incorporate youth voice and goal setting because they kind of go hand in hand together. But because we are online, the plan was a 3-hour training. We thought that was like way too long to be in front of a computer. So we're like, we're going to try to get this done in 2 hours. I don't think it was enough time to do it in 2 hours. It was something definitely that 3 hours we could do in person, where we can kind of like socialize a little bit, maybe have a lunch and do it in 3 hours. So I unfortunately think that we're not going to be able to go through goal setting, which is fine because a lot of you guys are just matched or not matched yet. So we have plenty of time to go over goal setting. If you are matched now and you have questions about goal setting, please feel free to contact me and Monica. We have had a goal setting training in the fall that we can kind of just brainstorm ideas. But I just wanted to put that out there. I want to be cautious for you guys' time, and I apologize. So we're just gonna get through like the youth voice portion as quickly as we can, and then goal setting we'll have to revisit in a couple months. Okay. All right, so scenario 3.
Okay, group number 3, I was in the group with Julie and Bob. A little summary of our scenario. There's this FOF Teen Task Force that is a new program, and they're trying to provide, it's like a community center for like middle school youth, and it's a programming that they get to come and that they get to discuss like all these fun activities. And then the program manager was giving like a run through of the activities that they had planned. And immediately the youth start raising their hands and they have questions and input and stuff that they want to include, but the program manager just shut them down and didn't incorporate any other ideas or even want to continue listening to them. And our question is, what do you think the program manager should have done to incorporate youth voice in the program plan? A few of the things that we came up with is that the program manager should have started by saying thanks and by acknowledging the interests of the youth, that it is important to acknowledge the fact that they do have their own ideas. The program manager should have taken a little bit of time to see if any of the ideas could somewhat be incorporated into the program plan. Maybe discuss a little bit more with the youth how those ideas already connect to what the program plan has in mind. And also discuss with the youth that although all ideas are amazing and great, that they might not all be taken into consideration because of the fact that like it's already not pre-planned, but like it's a lot of the times they're just interconnected ideas, which is great. And yeah, we also suggested that maybe the program manager should have had like index suggestion cards where the youth could have written it down, and the program manager could have taken their input at another time when maybe the program manager had time to sit down and go through all the amazing ideas, right? So yeah, that's what group number 3 had.
Awesome, great, thank you. So we're gonna move on to scenario 4.
So our scenario is fairly short, so I'm just going to read through it really quick. Bobby and David have been matched for 8 months. David is a shy kid and has a hard time trying new things or opening to new people. Bobby and David have a few places they go, hang out, and eat out, and have never attended any match activities that the program has offered. Bobby loves spending time with David and feel like they have a good connection, but he would love to take David to a new place, attend a match activities so they could mingle with other matches. But anytime that Bobby suggests a new activity, David gets sad. What could Bobby do to help get David to try new things? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm having computer. Okay, too many screens. Carrie, feel free to jump in anytime because you had some great thoughts about this too. I'm going to try and summarize.
Okay.
Thanks. We talked about like ways that we could help David. David is the mentee. Ways Bobby could help David feel more comfortable with change, like or new activities, like how to make those activities not feel totally new, but inviting like familiarity. So like potentially bringing a friend along, or maybe like instead of jumping from like never seeing anyone to a match activity, like inviting one other match to something so that it's not so overwhelming. So really thinking about like how to break new activities into more manageable steps so it doesn't feel so scary for David. We also talked about like offering choices, and so potentially like 2 new but like not too threatening activities to see like which he liked. We talked about making lists together of like things that were really, Carrie, this was a good idea, like things that were like really meaningful to me, or like that I really want to share because when I was a kid, like this was something that really was impactful to me and I think you might like it, but not pushing necessarily, but trying to give like more like use more of an explanation of like why these activities could be meaningful or important, or like why do we want to try new things together. Carrie, anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's good. I think just also encouraging, like, if there's things that they really like, and there's things that you want to help them explore, like kind of trading off, like, okay, let's pick something from this. Or I also suggested maybe like you pick an activity that they feel pretty comfortable with, but just like also maybe, okay, in that realm, we could also add something small to it, you know? So just making it feel comfortable, but still feel a little new.
Love it. Love the either or opportunities, just giving them two choices. Thank you guys for sharing. And our last scenario is 5.
Yeah, so our scenario was that Yasmin's a youth and she's excited to go to a youth advisory council. She feels comfortable going alone because it's for youth, and she has lots of ideas, but at the check-in table, she's not really engaged. And when she raises her hand during the event, she isn't necessarily called on. And so she leaves feeling disappointed and not included. And so what we came up with was one thing that Desiree's been doing that I think is good in large groups is kind of keeping a list so that everybody gets a chance to talk if they raise their hand or not. What Destiny brought up is that sometimes adults can kind of congregate together and just start talking about normal stuff, but it's kind of accidentally, you know, the kids might not feel comfortable, or it's no longer about the youth. So just be cognizant of how you gather, even if it's accidental, just kind of keeping it, you know, youth-centered, having a youth in every group. And then kind of the most inclusive thing you could do is just have the youths run more of the event. Depending on age groups, they could man the check-in booth, or they could just have a kid sitting there, have like a tag team on it, have them call on people in the group so that it's really them doing it, and not an adult thing that happens to include children, a joint venture.
Thank you, Wendy, for sharing. Again, the way we show up for our youth they're always different, but we just want to keep in mind their ideas, their thoughts, their feelings. How are we providing choice? How are we providing space for them? And sometimes just thinking about if we're asking them something, if we're giving them choices, to kind of just pause for a second, because sometimes even as an adult, but like when you're younger, you just need that time to kind of process really what's being said. So in everything that we do, we want to make sure that we're asking them, we're listening to their thoughts and their feelings, really paying attention to even their body language. Like if we suggest something, sometimes kids will have like a body language, maybe they start slouching or their face starts frowning. We're like, oh, okay, well maybe it's not that, you know? So definitely like listening and just being aware of their needs. So this would be a time that we were gonna dive into a break and then come back and do goal setting. But I kind of want to open it up to see if anybody has any questions about, you know, if you're matched right now, ways of that maybe you need support in providing youth voice, or maybe what are you doing right now in providing youth voice? So maybe some of our mentors that are being matched, or if you guys have anything that you want to share that you're currently doing, or anybody else who that is not currently matched yet. If you have any questions about any of the information that we have presented today, we have about 5 minutes that are free. And again, I apologize. I was really hoping that we can get through the whole thing. It didn't work out that well, but I feel like we had enough time. We had some good conversation on youth voice, and we'll just have to schedule another time that we all get together and talk about goal setting. Another opportunity for us to get together.
I guess I'll just share because I know some of the, I guess one of the scenarios I forgot it was something I encountered, and the advice you were giving is exactly what worked out for me. I think it was the one where it was Dylan or Bobby was a little shy and didn't want to try new activities. So my mentee, he was also a little reserved, and I think the first time we hung out, we were going to do an activity and it was a little too crowded. So I had to adapt in the situation and go somewhere else. So instead of eating at a restaurant, we got takeout and went to eat at a park. And that was, he enjoyed that. And the way I got him to open up to try new things is, like you say, bringing a friend. So he was really close. And for the first few months, he would come frequently. And I found out that when his friend was around, he was a little more comfortable and trying new things and being in crowded areas because they have more of a support system, because that's what it really is, and they feel more comfortable. So that's been working out, but the challenge is trying to find activities. I think for those of you that aren't matched yet, it is difficult to plan activities, especially the first year. Every week is a big commitment, and finding something to do every week with a teenager, because my match was a little older, is a struggle, but it's been going well.
Just to add, Martine, lists are always great. I know it's really hard as they get older to schedule, but definitely, continuing to check in, ask them questions. Like, big thing, just getting as much information that you can get from them of like what interests they have. And obviously, like, you don't want to have a friend with them come all the time, but sometimes that helps. And if you're okay with that, that's good. Maybe do that a couple times and then like, hey, well, maybe doing that same activity with a friend, but just like the both of you now. Good job trying to support those teenagers. It's a little bit hard as they get older.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Like,
please.
how do the initial match happen? How are we first meet? Do we meet with you guys, or is it all just individual?
That's a great question. So your initial match meeting will be with your match support person, which would be myself or Monica.
Okay.
And that would be the first. Sorry, my dogs are running in. I apologize. We'd meet with the guardian, the match support person, and then yourself and the mentee. Do like paperwork stuff, and then they have your About Me form. I think that maybe you've done it. You'll share that with your mentee. You'll see their About Me, and you guys can like make conversation about each other's About Me. And then there's also an activity that we do where we create a list of interests or activities that you would want to do, and so that you guys will have that to start off with. And then we try to schedule 2 to 3 match meetings right there at your first match meeting with your match support person there and the guardian there, so just it's already planned to kind of help support with that.
Okay.
And if ever needed, like if it feels uncomfortable, like you can always do your first couple of match meetings, like maybe it's in front of their house or just walking around the block, or they live by a park. And if the parent is involved and they want to be involved, like invite them if that helps make the kid feel comfortable. Okay. Or you can invite myself or Monica. We'd love to come and hang out as well too.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. And then another thing, when we were talking about trying new things, that just popped into my head was that it might be kind of fun sometimes to say, well, this is a new thing for me too. Like, let's pick one of these activities that I haven't done and it can be new for both of us. So that might be another way to kind of encourage like a kid to do something new if you're kind of sharing that new experience. So
absolutely, I love that.
Desiree, can I say something real quick?
Please. Yes, Destiny.
Okay, so when I first was matched in October, I was really nervous about being able to come up with enough things to do because I have a house full of boys and I got matched with a little girl and I'm not girly in any way. So it was like stressful to think, what am I gonna, what can we do that she's gonna like, that our family will still be into? And I started planned and I made list. And now we're months into this and I get her many times a week and we do lots of things. Some things very, very extravagant, some things helping fold laundry, like just regular everyday things. And I think so much of the time we as mentors want to have to do something with our mentee. Like we have to take them and buy them something, or we have to take them and go somewhere to eat, or we have to take them and do an activity. When so much of it, our most favorite times together have not been any of the things we've spent money on, any of the things that were full on planned days, but were just regular common moments of like realness where she texts me and says, hey, can I come over today? And I'm like, man, I have 27 loads of laundry to do and I have to get it done because I have this to do this weekend or whatever it is. And she goes, I just want to come spend time with you. And she sit on the dryer while I fold clothes for 2 hours and we just talk, and it be the most intimate, personal, awesome time together. So I just want to encourage you that you don't always have to do something cool or big for them to really get a lot out of it. That's all.
Thank you, Destiny. And absolutely, I 100% agree. It's nice to go on outings and nice to, some of our youth don't get to go out in the community a lot, or maybe go out to a restaurant, something as simple as that. And so we think that we need to do that. But sometimes just hanging out with them, you don't know if they're at home and they have like 4 siblings or, a house full. You don't know what they're going through in their own home life. So just taking that time to, walk around the park or just invite them into your home. Maybe just go on a drive. I know Destiny, sometimes they just go on a drive, they grab Taco Bell and drive around and talk. So just some of those simple things are the most important and impactful in a youth's life. So, anyone else? Awesome. It seems like everybody's still thinking and processing things. So I'm going to, it's 7:33. I want to be cautious of you guys' time. I want to thank you all for joining, and thank you for allowing me. This is my first time doing my youth voice training. So thank you for being my first people that I'm presenting to. Yeah, so if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me and Monica. I just want to point out, Monica, thank you for being here throughout the whole time. She is not feeling well. She had her second vaccine today and is not feeling well at all, but she is being a trooper and supporting the training. So thank you so much. And
thanks,
yeah.
Desiree.
You can go ahead and log off and get plenty of rest. I hope you don't have anything on your calendar tomorrow, and you can just get lots of rest. And then everybody else, please feel free to send me an email with questions. I will send a survey out to you. You guys can let me know how I'm doing and any feedback about this training. Again, I apologize we didn't get through the goal setting portion, but I promise you we'll meet again and go over that stuff. All right, you all have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Sorry, I'm still here. Becky was like sending me direct messages. So I was trying to catch the text and then she left. So hi, great job. That was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yay, Desiree, it's over. I thought that was really good.
Yes.
I like this. I like when Carrie and Allison